family units that were being released. Based on your video, it seems as though there's thousands of just about everybody being released. Is that true?
Well, that's what we're seeing right now, Leland, and there's really no way to verify whether these men are actually part of a family units at all. For all we know, they could just be saying this to be processed into the United States and then released into American cities. One thing we're seeing here, Leland, the reason I was speaking Spanish to those Haitians is they are actually coming from Chile. So on the Mexican side and here on the Texan side, these Chilean IDs will be littered across on both sides. These IDs are issued to Haitians who actually already have refugee status. So the reason why they disregard them before reaching to the U.S. is so they could seek refuge here. But what we are seeing in record numbers is these Haitian so-called families being released into the United States. And if you just drive up to any local gas station here in Del Rio, you'll find Haitians waiting to be bussed off to the San Antonio airport. And there I was interviewing some of the Haitian migrants, just asking them if they even been tested for COVID-19 before being released into the public. They told me they have not been tested. And when I asked them which states they're flying into, the majority of the state that I was hearing is the state of Florida. And this is because they have family back there. They're going to reunite with them in the States. But we've really never seen anything like this, Leland, where we have these just record number processing with some of these families either getting a notice to appear, so they have a court order, which could take up to 3 years, or a notice to return, so they have to return or report back to an ICE agency within 60 days, which Border Patrol tells me it's only 13% of the time that those migrants even do that.
All right, I got a bunch of questions based on your reporting because it's incredible. Number one, we'll put aside for the moment the COVID issue, and that if you come to the U.S. legally, you have to have a COVID test and proof of vaccination if you fly internationally. But who's paying for all these bus tickets and flights?
As right now we're seeing is some NGOs and some Catholic organizations here in Del Rio are organizing these flights for these Haitian migrants. And like I said, the common answer I'm hearing is that they're headed to the state of Florida and they're being bussed from here to Del Rio to the San Antonio airport. The single Haitian males are still being deported, but these family units are being processed at a number we've never really seen before.
Yeah, and as you point out, it's pretty easy just to say you're a family unit, and if nobody has IDs, it's hard to prove otherwise. Why now? Why did they come from Chile now to the United States in this huge number all of a sudden?
So one thing that we've been getting here, Leland, is that when I'm speaking to the Haitians, now whether it's the Haitians, the Central Americans, or the Venezuelans, the reason why we actually even have this border crisis to even begin with is that the general thinking was when we transitioned from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, that if you could just make it into the U.S., you won't be deported. Kamala Harris even came out during the campaign and said that they won't be deporting illegal immigrants. But the biggest policy change that we've seen is that when the Biden administration came in, they removed the Remain in Mexico policy. So the Remain in Mexico policy under Trump actually deterred a lot of that illegal immigration. So they all rushed to the border. Now the Haitian community have been coming from Chile, and they actually got stuck in Tapachula, which is a southern town in the border town of Mexico and south of Mexico. But just recently, the local government actually couldn't keep up with the thousands of Haitians that were living in Tapachula on the week of September 12th, which is an independence holiday called El Grito. They essentially let them finally travel out of there, and that's why we see them here. Now, Leland, right across, we're here in Del Rio, but right across from us is Ciudad Ocuna. Now, Ciudad Ocuna is one of the few locations in Mexico where cartel is actually not actively there charging these migrants to cross the river. So that's what we're actually, you've been seeing those video footage of these Haitian migrants crossing between the two countries. Like I said, I've just never seen anything quite like this before.
Well, fascinating that you say that's not where the cartels are charging, because they're charging across the rest of the U.S. border. You've been on the border for months now. I think actually years I've been following your reporting. And I'm wondering what your sources are saying, because we see this surge of Border Patrol agents, CBP, Texas Department of Public Safety, all to Del Rio. You'd have to think that the rest of the border now is unguarded.
And that's true, Leland. So right now I'm in Del Rio, but just 3 hours away, we have another border town called Laredo. So between here and Laredo, and even further than that, there's Border Patrol checkpoints all throughout. The huge issue is when we had this migrant crisis here, is that the Border Patrol had to call an extra 400 agents just to patrol here. So that means that all these Border Patrol agents along southern Texas between here and Laredo are completely unmanned. And according to Border Patrol sources, the cartel is really taking advantage of this, is putting drugs into the country. Right now, we're seeing an increase of 600% in just fentanyl being trafficked into the country. This is according to a Border Patrol that we spoke with. 600%
increase in fentanyl just in the past week. Jorge, incredible reporting. Thanks for making it work for us tonight. I know it was a challenge technically, but we're better for having somebody on the ground. Talk to you soon, all right?
Thank you, Leland.
All right, thank you. President Biden's poll numbers continue.